Do you think our government's corrupted? I promise this isn't a trick question like the first day. That was those are the last three questions. Well, if we all agree that our government's corrupted, well, it begs the question, who's doing the corrupting? Who are the corruptors?
Our representative.
Who do you think that our representatives are sitting in their office going,
Absolutely.
I think I'm going to be corrupted?
Yeah.
Or do you think someone's walking in and corrupting them?
No. I don't think we need any help.
Both. So somebody, but we agree that somebody's doing some corrupting here. That most people don't go, you know what, I'm going to risk getting beaten with sticks out in the parking lot by my constituents for free. I want to be corrupted for free. Think anybody does that? No. You think anybody becomes corrupted for free? Of course not. So next slide, Cecily. So who's doing it? Who's doing the corrupting and who are the corruptors? Well, Cecily, next slide. What does the Bible tell us? We need to look no further than the Bible to figure out the answer to this puzzle.
The love of money is the root of all evil.
That's correct. That the Bible tells us right there what the problem is, and if the Bible's so this, shouldn't we at least look into the money situation? Look and see what's going on? I think that'd be a real good thing to do because yeah, it's good. If you want to know what's happening in this country, folks, just follow the money. That saying didn't become a cliche because it's false. Cecily, the economic crisis. Now here's our third president, John Adams, and he says all the perplexities, confusions, and distresses in America arise not from the defects in their Constitution or the Confederation, and not from their want of honor or virtue, so much as from a downright ignorance of the nature of coin, credit, and circulation. Now the word ignorance, that does not mean stupidity, y'all. That does not mean dumb. That means unaware. You haven't been told yet. And that's what's going on. There's a lot of things we haven't been told. A whole lot. Now, we're going to look at one more quote here from Henry Ford, who said, "It's well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." As in tonight, right here, right now. When the American people, and hopefully when you learn what I'm here to tell you tonight, you'll agree with this man. So let's move on. What has happened? Prior to 1913, we the people, the parents, had a direct veto on the spending policies of the federal government. Because if the government wanted the money, they had to come to us. There was no central bank. They had to sell bonds. If the people didn't like the war that the government wanted to wage, they didn't buy the bonds. If they didn't like the big port project that they had in mind, bridge to nowhere, they didn't buy the bonds. It was a simple, effective system. A Republican system, not party, but form of government, a Republican system that gave the people a direct veto to the spending policies of the federal government, and by extension, all their policies, both foreign and domestic. And it worked quite well until 1913. And that's why the government remained small, because it didn't have an unlimited credit line to go on a shopping spree for 97 years and make you pay for it. So what happened in 1913? Well, on December 23rd, 1913, in a special session of Congress, seven congressmen authorized the Federal Reserve Act. Get that? 7 men changed history of ours and took away our direct veto power on their spending policies. And then President Woodrow Wilson signed the act into law. That's what we want. What is the Federal Reserve? The Federal Reserve is a private bank, y'all. It's a private bank like Chase or Bank of America. It's not part of our government. It is as federal as Federal Express. Is Federal Express part of our government? Of course not. And I assure you, neither is the Federal Reserve System. It is a group of private banks. Now here's a nice thing to know about them. We don't know who runs it. We've never known who runs it. In fact, it's illegal for us to try to find out. People have tried. It's gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has ruled, since the Federal Reserve is not part of the government, they don't have to answer to you. And that's pretty much the end of it right there. This is our Supreme Court. This is not my theory. This is what's happened in our country. Now, the Federal Reserve is a very special bank. Again, it's not part of our government. It is a private corporation, but it has two very special rules. Cecily? And it is so important that you understand these two rules of the Federal Reserve. Number one, they're the only entity on the planet that can create the Federal Reserve notes that we all use. Let's pull one out. This is what they create, and they're the only ones that create them. If you try to create it, it's counterfeit. If I try to create it, it's counterfeit. If our own government tries to create them, it's counterfeit. Second, they only take their Federal Reserve notes, that they're the only one that can print, as a repayment for their loans. They won't take gold or silver or chicken eggs or artichoke hearts or potatoes. No. The only thing they take is the money that they print. So they've got that. Now, for 156 years in this country, the Federal Reserve did not exist, and we became the most prosperous nation in human history. But in 1913, we went from not having the Federal Reserve to having it. So, since our government borrows money from them, let's take a look at that very first loan that happened before any of us were born. Cecily? And we're going to use as the first loan a small amount of money. We know our government does not deal in small amounts of money because, you know, it's our money, so they don't have to. But we're going to use small numbers tonight so that we can understand what's going on. So let's say, for example, that very first loan, because there had to be a first loan, right? They didn't exist, and then they did. So there had to be the first loan. Let's say it was $100,000. So the Federal Reserve says, great, boys, roll the presses. And they print out 100,000 $1 bills. And remember now, that's all that exists in our universe, are the $100,000 $1 bills that they printed out. Cecily? But like any other bank, what does a bank want when they give you money? They want interest. They want to get paid. So at an 8% interest, this $100,000 loan becomes $108,000 that we gave back, that we owe back. Yet there are only $100,000 in existence in the universe. Meaning that if every American turned in every dollar they had, they went through their couch, they went through their sofas, they went through their cars and their trunks, and they got every dollar they had and turned them in, we'd be $8,000 short. Do you not see how that's perpetual debt? Do you like the sound of that? Would you buy a tractor if they told you, yeah, you can buy it, but you can never pay it off? Wouldn't that be wonderful to have a tractor you just keep paying and paying and paying for? Well, we have a national debt that hopefully you now understand that can't be paid off. So what's going on here, folks? What's going on is that long before any of us were born, the government said, oh, we're going to take out a second loan, pay off that underlying loan. But that second loan came with even more debt. So they said, oh, we've got to take out a third loan, pay off that second one, and so on and so on. Cecily?